Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan ki Shri Narottam Dham ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Yamuna Mai ki Tulasi Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Gaura Premanandi Guru Shri Sabhavati Hare Krishna Guru Shri Sabhavati Hare Krishna Oh Guru Shri Sabhavati Hare Krishna Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tojayamudiraye Astapreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhagavati Naishtaki Krishna Swadhamo Bhagate Dharma Jnana Divisaha Gaunasta Krisamesha Shrana Kutuno Nitaha
Arthabhavam vinishchitya pratithasyapi natmanaha tam chapi yushmacharana sevayaham paranudhe. Arthabhavam vinishchitya pratithasyapi natmanaha tam chapi yushmacharanan sevayaham paranudhe. Please repeat. Arthabhavam vinishchitya pratithasyapi natmanaha api yusmacharana sevayaham paranudhe. Arthabhavam vinishchitya pratithasyapi natmanaha tasmachapi charana sevayaham paranudhe. Arthabhavam vinishchitya pratishtatsyapi natmanaha tasmachapi yushmacharana sevayaham paranudhe. Arthabhavam vinishchitya paranudhe. Arthabhavam vinishchitya sevayaham paranudhe. Mataji. Arthabhavam vinishchitya tam chapi yushmacharana sevayaham paranudhe. Artha abhavam, without substance. Vinishchita, being ascertained. Pratitasya, of the apparent values. Api, also. Na, never. Atmanaha, of the self. Tam, that. Cha, also. Api, thus. Yushmat, your. Charana, feet. Sevaya, by service. Aham, myself. Paranude, shall be able to give up. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. But my dear sir, I'm obliged to you because now I can understand that this material manifestation is without substance. Although it appears real, I am confident that by serving your feet, it will be possible for me to give up the false idea. Purport. The sufferings of the conditioned soul are superficial and have no intrinsic value, like the cutting off of one's head in a dream. Yet although this statement is theoretically very true, it is very difficult for the common man or the neophyte on the transcendental path to realize practically. However, by serving the feet of great transcendentalists like Maitreya Muni, and by constantly associating with them, one is enabled to give up the false idea that the soul suffers from material pangs. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chachurur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishnam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savetam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamshta. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bhandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Bacha Patitanam Bhavane Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Vaisheshika Dasari Kariti Namine Nama Prahashaya Shilaya Prabhupada Sarine Anititarede Tasmai Shastra Bhajana Chodhani Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschitade Shatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulang Hayate Girim Yakripat Maham Bande Shri Gurunti Datarana. Read the verse once more. Artha bhavam vinishritya pratitasyapi natmanaha tam chapi yushmacharana sevayaham paranudhe. But my dear sir, I'm obliged to you because now I can understand that this material manifestation is without substance. Although it appears real, I'm confident that by serving your feet, it will be possible for me to give up the false idea. So here we're hearing in this particular verse, Vidura express his gratefulness and acknowledging that he's an illusion in this material world, and that only by serving the lotus feet of Maitreya Muni, such a powerful devotee, that he'll be able to actually get free of this illusion and come to the real understanding that he is a servant of Krishna and not a being of this material world. So it's interesting, the Bhagavatam are factual stories that are there to help us navigate out of this material world and be situated in the real position that we are servants to Krishna, and to help us give up this illusion that we're these material bodies made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So there's three energies of the Lord. These three energies are described as the internal potency, external potency, and the marginal potency. And the living entities, we are described as the marginal potency, the Tatastha Shakti. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Adi Lila chapter 2, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's three verses that kind of just explain what these three things are, just kind of give a little understanding. So the Chit Shakti, which is also called the Sarup Shakti or Antaranga Shakti, displayed many various manifestations. It sustains the kingdom of God in its paraphernalia. So this is what the spiritual world is composed of, this internal energy. And the jivas also are composed of this energy, the internal potency of Krishna. And then you have the external energy called the Maya Shakti. It is the cause of the innumerable universes with varied material potencies. And then we come to this verse, 103. It says, Jiva Shakti Tatakshkaya Nahi Yara Anta Mukyatina Shakti Tara Vibedha Ananta. The marginal potency, which is between these two, consist of the numberless living beings. And these are the three principal energies which have unlimited categories and subdivisions. So the living entities, that's us, being to Tasta Shakti, we can be influenced by either the internal energy or the external energy of Krishna. And the problem in this material world with most jivas is that they're completely enwrapped by the external energy. And therefore, because of being entrapped in the external energy, they're not seeing God, they're not understanding who Krishna is, they're not understanding what is the real point of life. And they're completely illusioned as to what is their actual position and what is their actual duty. So therefore, everyone is walking around thinking, I am some big doctor, I am some big scientist, I am some big person in this world. I am Oriental, I am Russian, I am Bulgarian, I am Dominican, I am Indian. This is because we're confused. We're being deluded by the external energy of Krishna. But there is good news. The good news is, being the marginal potency, we can actually take shelter of Krishna's internal energy. And when we take shelter of that energy, then we can understand what is our actual position. Then that is when the living entity wakes up from the dream, wakes up from the illusion, and understands, okay, I am not this body actually. I am a servant of Krishna. That is my actual position. That is my actual identity. Dasa, dhasa, anudhasa, to be the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. And when we're relating on this platform, and when we're interacting on this platform, then life is actually happy. Life is actually joyful. Because then we're acting in our real position. We're not living a lie, so to speak. Because when you're living in a made-up reality, for some time there may be some happiness, but at any time that reality, that illusion can come to an end. In today's society, there's many different people who have the positions of CEO or whatever, maybe the president or some big leader, and because of that, and that's like an illusion within an illusion. And at any moment, that position can be taken away from them, and then they're, because of not understanding who they actually are, because of being in that illusion, then they're completely bewildered, completely destroyed. At the time of death, that's why man is so scared, because of everything that he's thought to make, with everything that he's thought that he actually is going to cease to exist. His so-called big bank balance or big family or company, or everything as he knows it will cease to exist. But for a devotee, death is just another event. It's like we wake up in the morning, or I walk down the street, I died. For a devotee, it's like that. It's nothing so serious. Actually, a devotee actually becomes excited, thinking, oh, now I'm going to come closer to Krishna. For myself, I know I maybe have many, many more births to go, but my prayer is Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kabitam Bha Jagadisha Kamari. Mama Janmani Janmani Shivare Bhavata Bhakti Rahita. That in whatever many lives I may have in the future, that I may be engaged in Krishna's devotional service. So for devotee, they're not worried so much. Okay, if I die, if I don't die, I'm going to be engaged in Krishna service. That's my eternal position. And that's actually where our happiness lies. And that is actual reality. So we can come up out of that dream. So then one may think, okay, how do we come out of this dream? And this second point is addressed in this very purport and in the verse here where Vidura says, I'm confident that by serving your lotus feet, it will be possible for me to give up this false idea. And Prabhupada writes in the purport about this point that, yes, being in the conditioned state, it is very difficult for the conditioned man or neophyte on the transcendental path to realize practically that we are not these bodies. So it's we speak about it, but who is actually on that platform? It's a very high realization, actually. And we tell everyone we're not these bodies, but at least for myself, I feel the little pain in my back, and I get a little sick and I'm out for a week and I can't do anything else. Just think of how sick I am and how miserable it is. So practically speaking, at least I have a lot of work to do. But Prabhupada and Vidura are giving the remedy by which we can come out of this illusion, by which we can get cured of this misunderstanding. And that is by serving the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master. Now, there is a way to approach the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master, to actually receive that knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna states, Tatvidi pradipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadeshyati dhyanam dhyaninastata darshinaha. So these great souls, the Vaishnavas, sadhus, they've seen the truth. And by approaching them, they can also reveal this knowledge unto us. But in which attitude should we approach them? We should approach them in a humble, submissive state, with questions, sevaya, in a mood to do service. Because as we see, how is it possible that Prabhupada came here, pure devotee of Krishna, came from the spiritual world, came here to New York, the Lower East Side? Thousands and thousands of people came in contact with Srila Prabhupada. But very few actually realized who he was and started to render service. And very few actually accepted those blessings. Prabhupada would start his letters, all of his letters start with, please accept my blessings. So one time I was in Vrindavan, Gopal Champu Prabhu was giving class, and Prabhu was making a very interesting point. He said, generally, anywhere he goes, many devotees run up to him, Prabhu, please give me your blessings, Prabhu, please give me your blessings. And he just said, the blessings are already there. What blessings do I have to give you? Blessings are already there. But Prabhupada would say, please accept my blessings. So that means there's some action that has to be done on our part. We have to be willing to accept the instruction and then act according to the instruction, for that mercy to act in our life. Of course, it's caused us mercy, because receiving the mercy of Krishna and being able to be giving the facility to engage in this devotional service of Krishna is worth much more than hitting the jackpot. What's the jackpot now? The lottery jackpot 3 or something we saw the other day, $400 million, something like that. This is much more valuable than that. Giving the opportunity to come and chant and dance before Radha Govinda is much more valuable than hitting the jackpot. Much more valuable than having $1 billion in the bank. And this is the mercy of the Vaishnavas. They've given us this opportunity. Prabhupada came, chant Hare Krishna. Just chant. I am simply asking you, begging you, chant. Their heart is practically, bursting open with compassion, because they understand labhasudhulabamidam bahusambhavante manushim artadham anityam api hadira turnam yate tanapatit anumrityavan rishayasaya visaya kalushavatatsya. That all these jivas have attained the rare human form of life, and that now they can achieve artadham, their greatest good. They can achieve this self-realization again. But if they're just wasting it, like cats and dogs, searching after this fleeting pleasure of this material world, then that is the greatest pain for the Vaishnavas. They'll look at the souls and they'll just, their heart will just wrench. Like, I can't believe this person is wasting their life and not serving Krishna. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's anxiety. He's so anxious to see that everyone in the world is engaged in Krishna service. He sent out his personal associates, Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, go and make everyone chant the holy name of Krishna, the holy name of Lord Gauranga. Make them chant. So this is the greatest benediction in this age. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva Kelavam. Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Katinyaka. That by chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way to attain self-realization. So therefore, we are stressing on this point. And therefore, we're serving Srila Prabhupada in his mission to flood every town and village with the holy names, to teach others, to guide them, to help them in coming closer to Krishna. And the spiritual master, serving the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, it brings us out of this darkness. We say every day, the Mangala Charana begins with Om Anghyanatamirandasya Dhananjana Salakaya Chachurur Militamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master who has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. It's like when I have like this cataracts. When you have cataracts, you can't see. So you need an operation to remove that whatever that fluid or something that builds up in front of the eye. So similarly, we have this cataracts of Maya, of the Maya Shakti, of the external energy covering our vision, and we're not able to see the reality. So we go to the spiritual master. Please, my dear Guru Maharaj, please operate on me. Please remove this cataracts from my vision so I can actually be situated in my actual position as a servant of Krishna. So important to take advantage of this and serve the senior Vaishnavas. Because when we serve the Vaishnavas, then we gain an affinity for hearing the messages of Krishna. And this Krishna Kathas will actually give us satisfaction. Speaking about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, talking about Krishna. This is the real value. This is the real worth. And we see this is so valuable. This holy name, there's knowledge about Krishna, that all the great Vaishnavas spend. We have extensive prayers and many, in the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita and different scriptures glorifying the mercy of the Vaishnavas, glorifying the spiritual master. That's there because these Vaishnavas are showing us and also revealing to us how grateful and how indebted we should feel to the spiritual master. One such verse by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is Namashreshtam Manubisachi Putram Matrasa Rupam Rupam Tashikajam Urupuri Mahaturim Ghostavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yashya Patita Kipaya Sigurum Tam Nathosmin. And this verse says, I'll give you the exact translation. It's from the introduction to his Mukta Charita. He says, there's a very nice verse, and here he's just pointing out the different things that the spiritual master has given to him and how grateful he is for these things. And so this is the mood that we should try to imbibe, or I should try to imbibe, that one should try to imbibe. And he says, I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have received the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Sachimata, the association of Sarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. So this is what the Vaishnava transfers onto us, what he reveals onto us, that the real goal of life is to serve Krishna. And for that knowledge, we remain greatly indebted. And as it says in many different places, if you go, they'll have some sign, some business. The best way to show appreciation is to tell others. So this is what we are doing. We're going out. We're telling others, hey, wake up, Jeev Jago. You're a servant to Krishna. Take this book, read it. You'll become self-realized. Take this holy name, take this prasadam, take Krishna's mercy. It's widely available. It's available for every single living entity. No one is too unqualified. No one can claim, I am unqualified to receive this mercy. No, because causeless mercy is available for everyone, even for such a rascal as myself. This mercy has come. One of Srila Prabhupada's books came into my life. It was in 2022, it was 8 years ago. And my life has not been the same. And if we look back in our past and we see that moment when we received one of Srila Prabhupada's books and how by reading these books, our life was completely transformed. This is what we're carrying out every day. We can go out with these transcendental bombs that will destroy Maya's illusion. So this is the opportunity that we have to engage in Lord Chaitanya's company, to be workers in Lord Chaitanya's company, and go out and canvas for more employees. Come and surrender your life to Krishna. Come and save the fallen souls. And in this way, we increase Krishna's ecstasy exponentially. We increase the ecstasies of the Vaishnavas. Because as Srila Prabhupada said on his prayer, on the Jaladuta, he wrote 2 prayers. And the first prayer was to the lotus feet of the spiritual master. And there's a very nice line in that prayer. If I can find it. Here you go, Jaladuta. And this is a prayer unto the lotus feet of Krishna. And yeah, I could just read the whole prayer so we can get that mood that Prabhupada had while he was on the Jaladuta coming over. So this is Prabhupada. He's on the Jaladuta. He's coming to America for the first time. And this is what he's thinking. This is what he's praying. So he says, I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will attain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord, Krishna, only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in service to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, and all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a transcendental flood of ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable, living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish his mission, I am not worthy or fit to do so. I am very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, I am begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy. For you are the most wisest and most experienced of all. If you bestow your power by serving the spiritual master, one attains the absolute truth. One's life becomes successful. If that service is obtained, then one becomes happy and gets your association due to good fortune. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as a disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? So that last section I just read, that's a verse by Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsingadev. He says here, my first duty is to serve him. This is the first duty, to serve the spiritual master. O Lord Krishna, you are my eternal companion. Forgetting you, I have suffered the kicks of Maya, birth after birth. If today the chance to meet you occurs again, then I will surely be able to rejoin you. Oh, dear friend, in your company, I will experience great joy once again. In the early morning, I will wander about. This is Prabhupada's revealing now what is the goal, what is the perfection. In the early morning, I will wander about the cowherd fields, pastures and fields, running and frolicking in the many forests of Braja. I will roll on the ground in spiritual ecstasy. Oh, when that day be mine. So Prabhupada's longing. He's showing us. Of course, Prabhupada is there already, but he's teaching us what desire we should cultivate, what we should aspire for, what's the goal. Today, that remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way, but because I have a great longing, I've called you. I am your eternal servant, and therefore I desire your association so much. O Lord Krishna, except for you, there is no other means of success. So when we talk about here in this purport, or in this this verse, it says this material manifestation is without substance. What is the actual substance? The actual substance is the spiritual energy. The actual substance is service to Krishna. So without that substance, without having the actual substance, then life is just empty. Shrama eva hi kevalam, useless. All our endeavors are useless if we don't serve Krishna. So yes, please take this very seriously. Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas are not ordinary persons. Our spiritual masters are not ordinary persons. And they're begging us, they're asking us to assist them in their mission and to bring as many souls as possible to Krishna and also give Krishna consciousness to ourselves. Prabhupada said to Rameshwar Prabhu, your first duty is to save yourself. So every day we should also be strict, serious, and sincere in our practice of Krishna consciousness. And then we'll be immunized. We'll have the proper vaccine to go out into this world and not be affected by the influence of Maya. Okay, Hare Krishna. Anybody have any questions, comments? Answers?
Hare Krishna, Gopal Champu Prabhu. So it's interesting. The first sentence of the purport struck me. The suffering of the conditioned souls are superficial and have no intrinsic value. It seems like I was like, damn, that's a very heavy statement to just make. Like, and we hear from Chanakya Pandit that a learned man sees the suffering of others as his own, and that, you know, you hear about, for example, like Vaishnavas are para dukkha dukhi. The sufferings of others is their own. They're trying to help others, para upakara, for the benefit of others. And like, you know, the whole verse is about, you know, you were talking about nicely, like serving the spiritual master. And of course, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and in his ISKCON mission was essentially to spread Krishna consciousness to all the fallen conditioned souls. Like you read, like his poem that right before he came, the spiritual, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta's desire, the Vaishnav's desire, is to actually stop the suffering of the fallen conditioned souls and bring them back to Krishna. So I thought it was just like that just stuck out to me. It seems like it doesn't make sense.
Seems a contradiction.
Yeah, seeming contradiction.
Seeming contradiction. Yeah, so that's, but he says here that the sufferings of the conditioned soul are superficial and have no intrinsic value. And at least my understanding is that the so-called suffering, so, you know, you may say, oh, I didn't get 100 on the, SATs or whatever, or I didn't, get that BMW that I wanted, and ultimately the suffering that he's referring to here, at least my understanding is that's superficial, is that the illusion of thinking that they're this material body. So the Vaishnavas want to wake them up to the real position that you're a spiritual entity. So the real suffering, the real lack, ultimately is Krishna consciousness. So because they don't have Krishna consciousness, then that is the real suffering.
Yeah, something just came to my mind that actually the suffering is not suffering because it's just something to lead them to want to get out of the material world, so that when they finally meet a Vaishnava, that's one of the people, the four kinds of people. Well, all the three kinds of people besides the one who's just a pure Jnani, like they're all suffering in some way. He wants a little bit more knowledge, he's in distress, or he wants some money, but ultimately he wants some money because he's in distress, and he wants more knowledge because he wants to get out of distress. And so the distresses of the material world, that's like the function of it, to make like the material world sucks because it's not the right position for us to be in, and it gives us an impetus when the actual chance to get out comes, that we take it seriously. So in that way, it's something that starts out suffering but leads to the ultimate bliss. If it leads to that, can it really be called suffering? So I think that's one way to.
Yeah, and then the other point is that it's superficial in the sense that by nature the living entity is Satchidananda. It's full of bliss. So therefore when one is awakened to their real position, then they understand, okay, there's actually no suffering. That's when the spiritual world there is no suffering. And like Maharaj mentioned yesterday, actually, there's no suffering actually there. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for giving class. Sorry I'm a little late today. I have one question because it's saying approaching like, serving the spiritual master or serving Krishna. How is one supposed to, they don't feel worthy enough to even have a spiritual master? Like how can we approach these personalities when we feel like we're nothing?
Well, the reality is we're not worthy. We're not worthy to receive that mercy. But we have to do it. We have to do it in order to get better. If we're sick, you go to the doctor. You can't say, oh, I'm too sick to go to the doctor. It doesn't make sense.
What if I'm worried about getting the doctor sick too?
Well, the doctor's been trained. I was listening to a lecture by my Guru Maharaj, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, yesterday. And he was mentioning about one of his disciples, a god brother of mine, who's been working in the COVID ward at a hospital for the past 2 years. And he has not gotten COVID. So he asked him, how do you do it? He says, because I understand how the thing spreads, and he wears a suit with an oxygen tank. And he says, I've been doing that. I've been going into the COVID ward for 2 years and I haven't gotten sick. So the spiritual master, he's properly situated. He's like a doctor who understands the sickness that we have. And he's able to guide us out of this entanglement that we're in. So ultimately, that is what we have to do. We have to just approach the spiritual master and try to render some service whatever way we can. Even if the only service we can do is sit down and hear, that's the best service. That's the best service. You sit down in front of the spiritual master and you just hear. Let him speak. Read Prabhupada's books. Chant. And gradually we'll get better. Gradually. It's a gradual process. Actually, Lord Brahma mentions it's Krishna in the Brahma Samhita, because these are the last 5 verses. It's text number 59 of the Brahma Samhita, which you have now, right? Did I give you a copy?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So Brahma Samhita, text number 59 says, Pramanaistas racharais tar abhyasya nirantaram bodhayana atmanatmanam bhaktim apyutamam labet. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization, with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. So we have to have these three things: constant endeavor for self-realization, help of scriptural evidence, and theistic conduct and perseverance in practice. Four things. So theistic conduct also is being, we see the senior devotees, the Vaishnavas, the sadhus, our spiritual master. We see how there's so much acting in such a way to serve Krishna, and we become inspired by that. That is a point of association. That is why here Prabhupada mentions in this purport, I mean, the end of the purport, he says, transcendental path to realize practically he's saying it's difficult for us to even realize that we're, this transcendental knowledge. He says, but then he says, however, by serving the feet of great transcendentalists like Maitreya Muni and by constantly associating with them, one is enabled to give up the false idea that the soul suffers from material pangs. So we just got to put ourselves in good association, whatever it takes. Even if we just, take a rope and tie ourselves to the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas and like, okay, don't let me go anywhere, please. That's got to hold on to that.
I'm thankful for all your association. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Gopal. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions? Oh, Jimmy. Back to Jimmy.
Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for this amazing class, Gopal Champu Prabhu. Also, I'm sorry for being a very fallen, sleepy, conditioned soul and clocking out for a little bit of the class. When you said Jeev jog, I was like, when I wake up, I was like, it kind of pulled me up. But I'm in the mire of ignorance. So thank you for giving me your Stanley Association, Prabhu. So on the topic of Nadabar's question, Nadabar Prabhu's question, I was thinking that the idea of like superficial suffering. One thing that crossed my mind was that, right, even though like we've gone through like some of like the worst pain imaginable, right? Maybe even like a few years ago, but like right now, right, it's past, and now it doesn't even register in our consciousness anymore. It's very superficial, right?
Yeah.
And then also the pleasure and the enjoyment too, right? So even if we had like the most far out material experience, but then now it's over too, and now we're left with nothing, not even a trace in our current experience.
Right. Yeah, because it's temporary. So therefore, whatever is temporary comes and goes. It'll come and stay for a little bit, and then it'll go. Just like, just like a river flowing, you'll see some water there, and then next time you see there's a different water, and it's always a constant flow. So in the material world, we're experiencing these flow of desires and pains and pleasures, and just coming and going. Now, doesn't mean that we're insensitive. We go out there and we just tell them, yeah, you have one leg because you've been a bad person in your previous life. You're suffering because we try to give people the positive. It's okay. Now you chant Hare Krishna, you take some prasadam. Now, of course, because people are undergoing so much suffering, sometimes there may be the need to just help in the basic things. Like, for example, if someone's so hungry that they can only think about eating, I just go to him and be like, you're not this body. Okay, I'm not this body. I'm starving. Like, I just need to eat something. Okay, the devotee might provide some prasadam, but the point is that the transcendental knowledge always has to be there as well. Is we can give maybe some element to help them feel peaceful at a state where they're more equally balanced, but then we have to give them the correct knowledge, give them the correct understanding. Okay, this is not everything. Okay, this jacket may make you feel warm now, but ultimately this is and like that. So yeah, there's many need for, different modes of preaching and ways to outreach to people and different creative ways, and bring people in, but then give them the real thing. That's the point, is that we don't just feed people and just keep feeding them, but never tell them that, you're not this body. Don't give them anything further than that. Okay, it's 9:00. Any other Final questions, comments? No? All right, thank you all for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasinubhyaya cha, Pitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.